The Click to Science skill that we're focusing on today is preparing yourself to facilitate STEM. And of course, particularly preparing yourself to facilitate digital learning. We are going to be asking you to share some of your ideas, so be thinking about that. We want to know what you're doing in digital learning or what you would like to be doing. We're also going to talk a little bit about the barriers that are part of doing digital learning in out-of-school time.
Hi, this is Melissa Fenton. Can everybody hear me? Okay, so Click to Science PD is designed for site directors, trainers, coaches, and those who work with staff in after-school and other informal science programs. These resources will help staff build their confidence and skills in facilitating STEM learning. If you work with youth after school, in a 4-H club, at a museum, or in some other program, we hope you will be ready to share your ideas about digital learning. To help us better understand your role, we have a quick poll for everyone to respond to. So please respond to that poll. Today I'm thinking about digital learning either primarily from the perspective of someone who works with youth, primarily from the perspective of someone who works with staff, or from both perspectives. So it looks like about over half of us are looking at this from both perspectives today, primarily from the perspective of someone who works with youth and also from the perspective of someone who works with staff. If you have visited the website before, then you may know that we launched in January of 2014 and focused our effort last year creating videos, professional development resources, and learning modules for you to use. In 2015, we will be creating new videos and looking for ways to make the site more useful for you. In fact, there is a link on the site right now where you can apply to be one of the locations we film at in 2015. With so much going on, it really is important to register on the site so you hear about the new things we are trying out. There are lots of new ideas to try in 2015, and if you are not registered, you may miss them.
As I mentioned earlier, the skill we're going to be focusing on is preparing yourself to facilitate STEM. And we're going to be, as part of that preparation, having the opportunity to talk and share some ideas together. So we're going to get started right now by brainstorming a little bit using the chat box. So here's your first topic to brainstorm. Use 12 words or less to describe digital learning. I'll pause for just a moment to give you a chance to type some things in the chat box and see what ideas other people have to share as well. You may have noticed I cheated a little in my second post. I didn't keep it to 12 words or less. But I do see some interesting ideas coming across the board there, and I will try to capture some of these ideas and share them with you on the Click a Science site. There's lots of different things. Of course, it can be digital learning, and there's lots of reasons that we would use digital learning. Sometimes one of the ideas I saw is it cuts down costs. Sometimes you can make connections digitally that would be too difficult or too expensive to make in person or face-to-face. Another one I like, Angela mentioned, it's fun. And that's probably one of the best reasons to do digital learning in after school time, because we do want learning to be fun. Elizabeth mentioned the importance of providing access for students that may not have access to the same digital resources. So I'll encourage you to continue to scroll through that chat box and see what ideas people are sharing about what digital learning is. And we're going to be talking about what we can do to make digital learning happen. So normally, if you've been to one of our other videos, I always have a video to share from the Click to Science website. But today, the video that I'm sharing is actually not from Click to Science. It's a video from Alliance for Excellent Education on the Digital Learning Day website. So have you seen this website? Has anybody been to the Digital Learning Day website? Nobody has. So let me share that link with you so you can check it out as we're talking. Digital Learning Day this year is March 13th, and that's actually why we scheduled this topic for our webinar today, so that you have some time to think about it, and if you want to get involved in Digital Learning Day next week. So it'll take me just a minute. I'm going to close out of sharing the PowerPoint so that I can share the video from my screen. Let's see if I can do this pretty smoothly. Are you seeing the Digital Learning Day website? Okay. So here's the video that I wanted to share with you.
Learning? Well, it's really important for our future success. As students, we need to be ready and able to solve problems we don't even know exist yet. In case you haven't noticed, the world is changing all the time, but schools aren't. Books and worksheets are outdated and not very challenging. Teachers try, but they don't have the tools they need to help us achieve our highest potential. There are great things happening across the U.S. that we can learn from and replicate, like 5th graders who are using technology to create a full news broadcast for their school each day, helping students learn to analyze media for quality and become better citizens. High school juniors are using digital media to study real voices of Holocaust survivors for an in-depth class project that goes so much deeper than just reading from history books. School librarians are showing teachers how to use podcasts in their lectures as homework, giving us more time in class to do projects and ask questions. There's a day devoted entirely to digital learning, giving teachers great ideas and free tools to use for the rest of the year, making classwork interesting and more challenging. Yet this isn't just a one-day thing. We need to make sure digital learning is a staple of our learning every day, in all grades. So please ask your teachers to plan a lesson or activity in celebration of Digital Learning Day. Go to www.digitallearningday.org to get started.
Well, you probably noticed that that video was really targeted to teachers and actually to students. But I want to point out that digital learning, and on the website too, they acknowledge digital learning doesn't just happen during the school day. So what we're going to be thinking about is how can we make digital learning happen after school, out of school, before school, however it works best in your program. We started with some brainstorming, and hopefully the video gave us some more ideas about what digital learning could be. Now what I'd like to have you share in the chat box is what you're doing, or maybe it's what you'd like to be doing in digital learning. Some ideas that I saw in the video about the 5th grade class doing a newscast. I know of an after-school program here in Nebraska where they don't do a daily newscast, but they do put together a newscast for their school periodically so that they can update people on what's happening in the school and what's happening in the world. And that's a great chance for them to use their iPads to put all of that together. What I'd like to have you share is what you're doing and also what technology you're using. Are you using tablets? Are you using desktop computers? Do the students bring their own technology to do the activities? How are you making all that work? I'll give you a moment to share some things in the chat box there. Colette, would you be comfortable telling us a little bit more about what you're doing? Can you hear us, Colette? Can you share? Do you have audio on your computer?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, can you tell me more, like what exactly did you see that was of interest?
Well, one thing I saw coming across the screen was that you're using iMovie. How are you using that?
So the kids, so I work for UC Berkeley, and we've created our own program called Space to Create. And so the kids work with the program staff and some of our university students, and so they create they use the iPads and create a movie. So the staff work with them. They have certain goals they have to do. They have to do an interview, take pictures, variety of different things, and then they put that all together into a little short movie that they'll then share out with the whole group.
How much time does it take to prepare for that?
To like on the teacher end to prepare, or for the kids?
For you.
For the teacher end, so the curriculum lesson plans are already pre-made from UC Berkeley, so they spend most of the time planning all that. But prepping for, like me, teacher, is I went to a training to sort of learn how to use iMovie myself. So that was about an hour-long training. And then for each class, it's really just maybe 20 minutes of just reviewing kind of what we're doing that day, and then each student kind of they're not all at the same spot at the same time. So then during the class, it's monitoring where they're at and to keeping them on track. So it's not a lot of, you know, prep time, because really everything is done, you know, through the, you know, through on the iPad.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing.
Sure, no problem.
Barb, I saw that you were doing iMovies as well and also Scratch. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're doing? Look at the top of your screen. There's a microphone, and it should be green now, I hope, because I enabled it for you. One of the challenges with using technology is it takes a little bit of troubleshooting time. So we'll give Barb just a minute to see if she can get the microphone turned on her computer. Well, Barb is working on that. Elizabeth Buckley, I'll let you know that I'm going to call on you next so you can start figuring out how to get it set up on your computer. Barb, we can't hear you yet. You may have to set up the audio on your screen. How about we skip to Elizabeth and then we come back to you, Barb, if that'll work. Elizabeth, are you there? We can't hear you, Elizabeth. I hear somebody's microphone is on. I think that's you, Elizabeth.
Hello?
Yes.
Can anyone hear? Sorry, I didn't have my audio set up. I'm Elizabeth Buckley in New Jersey with the New Brunswick 4-H development program. We're an outreach program, statewide 4-H program. I'm in AmeriCorps Vista. I'm currently serving there. I'm actually finishing up my term in a few weeks. We utilize technology through a lot of our set programming through robotics programming currently. And also starting to utilize technology also in our dance club, as I had referenced to in the chat, in getting music, and also our volunteers and setting up lessons. Many of them are not really dancers, or they're people that took dance class in the past as a child, or college students who just have a genuine interest in their love of dance, and they find routines to off YouTube, and they practice them, and then then able to teach. So they've been able to get a lot of resources, diverse types of dance off YouTube. So that's all I have to share today. Thank you.
Do you spend a lot of time preparing to do something like that, or can you put it together pretty quickly? Thanks, Elizabeth. Let's go back to Barb now and see if your audio is set up now. Can you Can we hear you, Barb? It looks like your microphone's muted now. Okay, you're just going to share in the chat box. Thank you. So Barb is using EV3s, which is a great robotics kit. I think pretty simple to get started and use. Is there anybody else that would like to share what they're doing? If you want to speak, you can go ahead and raise your hand. I can watch for that. So you can share some ideas about what's working well for you. Particularly, I think we're interested in what you're doing, what technology you're using, and really how much time we have to prepare to set up something like that. It doesn't look like we have anyone else that wanted to share via the audio what they're doing. You can continue to share some things in the chat box. We'll go ahead and move on to the next screen. So what I wanted you to think about next is not necessarily what you are doing, but what are some things that you could be doing or that you would like to be doing? I know we just heard some ideas shared here. Oh, another one I see in the chat box right now that I really like is ABC Mouse. That's been a great resource for a lot of different things. What we want to know is what are the things that you would like to do or would like to know how to do. And I'm going to put a new box over in the corner that has some web links. And the web links are, if you haven't used one of these in Adobe before, if you highlight one of those links, then in the Browse To box at the bottom, you can see what that web link is, and you can click on it, and you can check it out right now. We are recording this session, so you can come back and visit this web links box later as we go, and also share some links in here. So if you have a link that you think we should add to the list, Melissa's ready to add those. So type that link in the chat box, and she'll move it over to the web links box so that we have it for everybody to see and click on. I know I put the Learn to Code at code.org. That Scratch is another great program to help kids learn programming. So if somebody has a link to where to go to get that, that would be great. Thanks, Barb. So there's a lot of different things that you can do in after school. App development is one that we haven't talked about that may have come across in the chat box and I missed it. I don't know very much about app development. To me, it seems like something difficult and challenging, but I know a lot of people are doing that in after school. If that's something that you're doing, please share that or how you're making that work. Other things that we've already talked about a little bit, building and programming robots. The Lego robotic systems are a great way to teach kids about programming. The system itself gives them feedback. If the robot doesn't do what they want, it means that the program isn't written correctly or something's not built correctly. So that motivates them to rework that, to go back, to test it, to redesign it. And that idea of formative assessment or feedback is built right into how the activity happens. And that's one of the things that makes digital learning really powerful, when the feedback is built right into the activity or the technology that you're using. We have a lot of people who are using videos, watching videos, or creating videos. One of the programs I work with, they do animated videos. There's a lot of apps out there that can help kids create their own animations, or they actually draw and create animations by putting their pictures together. So that's another way to share. GPS, I love that idea, Barb, because you can include a lot of physical activity along with your STEM activity in getting kids outdoors. You can't do GPS unless you get outdoors and get moving around. So that's a good way to build in that sort of activity. Is there anybody who's doing digital music? There's a lot of great resources out there for kids to create their own music. Another one that I like that's kind of new is wearable technology. A lot of people are using Arduino or Raspberry Pi to create wearable tech. That's another fun project where you can integrate the technology with a lot of other types of learning. April mentioned the We Do kit from Lego. That one is a kit that's specifically designed for younger students, kindergarten through 2nd grade. It's ideal for, though I've seen people use it up to 4th and 5th grade too. A great resource where kids can get started quickly, be building and programming in almost no time at all. And one of the nice things about all the different ways where kids can learn coding or programming is that they're learning skills that they can carry over to other types of programming and other formats later, because it's as much about the thinking, about the logic behind how they're writing the program as it is about the particular software that they're using. Well, thank you, Barb, for sharing your resources in the chat box so everybody can use those. I'll go ahead and leave that box up there for a little bit if you want to continue to check those out, but I need to move it over to the other side so we can advance the slides. We'll put it up here in the corner so it's out of the way. Okay. I think I missed a slide. Nope. I did not miss a slide. I missed putting that slide in and updating the presentation. So the slide that I forgot to add is the one about barriers. And I want to have people share a little bit in the chat box. What are the barriers that get in your way for implementing technology or digital learning? One of them that I saw earlier is YouTube is blocked, not having internet or Wi-Fi. I see a couple of people talking about cost. Could you tell us a little bit more? Is it the cost of the computers? What is the cost that's a barrier? Oh, Seagrave, that's a great one, and that's a barrier for me too. I'm not very strong in technology, and so that makes it harder for me to do technology with kids. I think that's a real legitimate barrier. Looks like cost of computers, not enough computers. I know one of the programs that I work with was able to get a lot of computers donated from a local bank. So I encourage you, if you're looking at trying to implement more digital learning and cost or computers particularly as a barrier, talk to businesses in your community. What happened for this program was the bank was bought out by another bank. And as part of that buyout, it was required that all the computers be replaced in the bank, but with the new system. So they donated all of the computers that they were currently using, so they were good computers, to the after-school program to be used. Now that may create another barrier because then you may need a place to keep them. and keeping computers up to date, storing the computers during the school day, those things can be issues too. Does anybody want to raise their hand? Is there a barrier that you'd like some feedback from the group on, that you think the group can help you solve that problem? If you'd like to join in and share some audio, just raise your hand and let us know. You can do that in the top center of your screen. There's an outline of a little person with their hand up. If you click on that, I'll be able to see that in the attendees box and can turn audio on for you. Looks like Wi-Fi or internet access is a big issue for several people, and that's one I don't have an easy workaround for. Especially something like a tablet, they're really hard to use if you don't have internet. They just don't stand alone very well. Any other questions that you'd like to have the group kind of help you brainstorm and think through? Lisa has a good point about wanting to balance having screen time versus active time, and especially when you get to the after school time, being active is really important. I agree with that. Well, I'm going to keep things moving along, but feel free to continue to share ideas in the chat box. When you come back to view the recording, you'll be able to see all those ideas in the chat box if you need more time to look through them. And if anybody that wants to share their email so people can follow up and ask them questions, feel free to do that. But do realize that the webinar is recorded, and so it will be publicly available if anybody wants to view that recording later. So I don't want you to just think about digital learning. I want you to actually do it. So here's my challenge to you. I want you to think about what you're going to do to actually plan to move this into some action. So Digital Learning Day is a week away. It's on March 13th. And I'd like you, if you can, to identify one strategy that was shared today in the webinar that you think you can implement in the next week. Now, not everybody's going to be able to do that because you may have already turned in lesson plans or things like that. So it may take you more than a week. But what would be the one thing you'd like to do? Barb shared her contact information if you want to follow up with her. And then to hold you accountable for implementing your plan, I'd like to challenge you to share your experiences. Tell us about what you did, or take some pictures and share those on Twitter at DL Day for Digital Learning Day or Moments That Click, so that we all know what you've tried and whether it worked or not. Hopefully it'll work, but it may not work right the first time. So what can you implement from what we talked about? And I see one idea I want to point out going by in the chat box right now, that we can also talk about digital learning, not just for the students, but for our staff. And that's what we're really excited about in regards to digital learning at Click to Science. We think that digital learning is very valuable for students, but we want to point out that digital learning is very important for staff, and in particular for bringing in those professional development experiences for your staff that you may not have the time or resources to implement on your own. So remember the Click to Science website is free and you can use it at any time. And if you want a digital learning experience for your staff, look for the logo on the website for Better Kid Care. Because Better Kid Care is our partner that provides online digital learning experiences for staff where they can download a certificate following that experience that they can use for continuing education units. So digital learning is not just something for our students, but it's also something for our staff as well. Here's the link to the website and also, again, our email and our Twitter so that you can share with us what you're doing and what you're learning digitally with your students or with your staff. Emily, I see the question you have in the chat box. I'm not sure exactly what the requirements are for Act 48, but I believe so. Better Kid Care has done a good job researching for each state what those requirements are. What state are you in? That might help me decide whether to say yes or no. But I believe the certificate that you receive, depending on what the requirements of your state are, should count for continuing education credits in your state. Are there any other questions?